This is the first phase in the legislative response to last week's deadly mass shooting, and Democrat candidate for Governor Beto O'Rourke in Dallas calling for Republicans and Democrats in Texas to pass laws that they can agree on. As the victims of the deadly school shooting are laid to rest this week, there is a growing call for lawmakers to do more in response to access to weapons and other safety measures.
Why does anybody need one? And they don't. Look, if you want to hunt, there are plenty of weapons to choose from to hunt. AR-15 is not a good one for that.
In Dallas, Democrat candidate for Governor Beto O'Rourke held a town hall. The campaign event focused on gun violence and mass shootings, while O'Rourke continues to call for controversial things like saying civilians should not have what he calls weapons of war. He says Democrats and Republicans should focus on what they have in common, mentioning a recent statement by Fort Worth Mayor Maddie Parker.
I don't know what party she belongs to. Someone told me she's a Republican. The mayor of Fort Worth suggesting that we raise the age to 21 years old if you want to buy an AR-15 or an AK-47. I think that's a good start.
Wednesday, there were multiple legislative developments out of Austin. Governor Greg Abbott called on House Speaker Dade Phelan and Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick to create special legislative committees to create recommendations on school safety, mental health, police training, and firearm safety. SMU political scientist Matthew Wilson says the action by the governor is to show he is doing something, but it remains to be seen what the actual progress will be.
The rub is going to come on the gun control piece of this, because I think Democrats and Republicans will largely be able to agree about certain measures involving police training, involving school security, involving mental health services. But Democrats will insist that all of that is peripheral and that the core of this issue is access to deadly weapons particularly by young people.
Hours after Governor Abbott's letter, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick announced an 11-member committee of state senators, 8 Republicans and 3 Democrats. 2 are from North Texas, State Senator Royce West from Dallas and State Senator Brian Birdwell from Granbury. On the House side, Speaker Phelan issued a statement saying, quote, "The misinformation swirling in the days since the shooting has been nothing short of troubling. Our chamber will get to work immediately, taking a well-informed and comprehensive approach to crafting the House's response to this horrific tragedy, as we await the results of these investigations to help inform the work we have been called to conduct." Another action by Governor Abbott Wednesday was a directive to the head of the Texas School Safety Center. The letter said in part, quote, "I am charging the TXSSC in coordination with the TEA to develop and implement a plan to conduct random inspections to assess access control measures of Texas school districts. Among other reviews, your team should begin conducting in-person, unannounced, random intruder detection audits on school districts." Wilson says this will come down to compromise for Democrats, knowing their big asks won't get any traction in Austin.
I think what we'll have to see is whether Democrats, both in Texas and in Washington, will be willing to accept a compromise measure that will act on all of those other things, the mental health piece, the school security piece, without taking significant action on the gun control piece. If Democrats are willing to swallow that compromise, then I think legislation will happen.
Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick is ordering or suggesting to the committee chair that he wants them to have their first hearing before the end of this month, saying the week of, I believe, June 23rd. As for the House is concerned, Speaker Phelan has not named who those committee members will be or when they'll have their first hearing.